Tired of marketing feeling like an uphill battle full of algorithms, ads, and empty numbers? You're in the right place. I'm Larissa Warstiak, founder of Joy Joya. We're a women-run marketing agency that helps jewelry brands thrive through compelling stories and authentic connections. For over 8 years, I've been elevating jewelry businesses of all sizes by focusing on heartfelt narratives and strategic content. Think of this podcast as your weekly marketing huddle. Whether you're sipping a latte or tackling your to-do list, I'm here to guide you. Let's toss aside the one-size-fits-all playbook and create a marketing strategy as unique as your brand. You bring the vision and I'll help you shine in a sea of sparkle. Welcome to episode 316, and it's the second to last episode of the year. Today, I'm actually going to look back at an episode from January of this year. It was the most downloaded podcast episode of 2024, and that one was Do These 3 Things for Jewelry Marketing Success in 2024. Not only did it top our charts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but it was also the most viewed YouTube video of all our 2024 uploads. You all loved it, shared it, and most importantly, many of you put it into action. So today, I'm revisiting those 3 tips, reflecting on what made them resonate, and talking about what we learned at Joy Joya from putting them into practice with our clients. And next week, I'll look ahead at what this means for 2025 because we're always planning for the next big thing in jewelry marketing. And stick around for the gold mine where I'll be sharing my personal favorite marketing tactic from this year, a strategy that truly stood out and delivered incredible results. I'll also dive into why it resonated with me so deeply and how you can make it work for your brand in the year ahead. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, this podcast is available in both audio and video formats. You can either listen on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube by searching Joy Joya. Support the podcast by subscribing and leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's free and greatly appreciated. And if you didn't know, I also co-host another podcast, Success with Jewelry, with my friend Liz Kantner, a fellow jewelry marketer and founder of the Stay Gold Collective. We offer a free version on all podcast platforms and YouTube, plus a membership community with extended episodes and extra resources. In case you didn't hear, the Winter 2025 Emerging Jewelry Brand Incubator Grant is officially open for applications. If you're an independent jewelry brand looking to level up, well, listen up. One lucky brand will receive 6 months of full-service digital marketing support totally free. That's a whopping $18,000 value. Why do we do this? Well, empowering jewelry business owners is at the heart of everything we do at Joy Joya. Whether you're just starting out or already shining bright, we want to help you grow. So to qualify, you need to have an active jewelry business with an e-commerce presence. If you're already a fan of this podcast and love our approach to marketing, that's a bonus. If you did apply before, but you weren't selected, don't let that discourage you. This could be your year. You just have to visit jewelrybrandincubator.com before the deadline of Friday, January 3rd, and the application link is in the show notes as well. Okay, let's get into today's episode, my sparklers. As we approach the end of the year, it's the perfect time to reflect on what worked, what didn't, and what lessons we can carry forward. Back in January, I outlined 3 key strategies for jewelry marketing success in 2024. So let's revisit those strategies and break down how they helped so many of you thrive. The first one was diversifying your business. So diversification was a huge theme this year, and for good reason. I heard from so many of you who tried exploring new product categories, new markets, maybe new partnerships. And it's clear this strategy resonates because it taps into the very thing we all want, growth, and also kind of future-proofing ourselves when the economy is uncertain, when things are changing with technology and consumer behavior. But also, as some of you learned, myself included, it's all about balance. So the magic lies in adding without diluting your brand. Number 2 was transforming your brand into a storyteller. So, the idea of the storyteller being more important than the story struck a chord with so many of you. And honestly, in a year when AI generated content dominated, brands that leaned into authentic storytelling through their founders, teams, their unique customer stories, those were the ones that truly stood out. And if you haven't yet, ask yourself, how can I make my brand feel more like a person and less like an institution? And then number 3, building out first-party data. So this tip was a hit for one simple reason. It's the most impactful thing you can do for long-term growth. It feels like, at least for me, I'm sure it does for you, that the social platforms just keep changing their algorithms. But email and SMS or text marketing remained rock solid. And many of you took this advice and ran with it, launching email exclusive collections, growing your subscriber lists, and then using that data to drive sales and build relationships with your customers. If you're still sitting on this one, let 2025 be the year you jump on email and or SMS. So now that I've revisited these top strategies that I recommended at the beginning of 2024, I want to dive into the real magic, the lessons that I learned over this past year. These aren't just theories anymore. They've been tested, refined, and proven by you, my sparklers, throughout the year. So let's explore what we saw work, what surprised us, and how these strategies evolved into powerful tools for success. The first lesson that we learned in 2024 was the power that focus has. So this year, we really saw brands succeed by prioritizing fewer things and doing them better. For example, there's one jewelry business that we work with that chose to go all in on email marketing, creating irresistible incentives for their signups, launching email exclusive early access to collections, and the result were that their fans were clamoring to sign up for email and they had a way more engaged email list overall. So focus doesn't necessarily mean saying no to everything forever. It means saying, while you've chosen an area of focus, to say, not right now, to those things that might dilute your efforts. So identify the 1 or 2 strategies that align with your strengths and really lean into them. You can always expand once you've nailed the basics or have more data to inform your next steps. I probably feel like a broken record saying this, but the second lesson that we learned is that storytelling is not optional. The brands that really thrived this year didn't just tell stories. As I mentioned before, they became storytellers. So it wasn't about having like the perfect founder story or a viral social media post. It was more about showing up authentically and showing up consistently. For example, we work with one jewelry brand that really leaned into using short videos to share inspiration behind each of the pieces that they were highlighting at any given time. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't professionally produced, it was just the founder and the designer talking about what a specific design meant to her and why she was inspired to make it. But it increased engagement so much because it resonated so deeply with the audience. So the takeaway is that authenticity always wins. Don't worry if your storytelling isn't polished. Worry about whether or not it's real and whether it's sharing why you chose a specific gemstone or taking people behind the scenes in your workshop. Connect with your audience by showing your humanity. And you can check out episode 279 as well for how to make your jewelry brand story less boring. So number 3, building upon that point I made about first-party data through email and through SMS. This was the year that many of you saw firsthand, if you hadn't already, how unreliable social media algorithms can be. One podcast listener recently shared how their Instagram engagement dropped dramatically this year. And that's a pattern I've been seeing a lot. even for brands that haven't really changed their approach and they were still as consistent as they ever have been. But because some of these people had worked on building their email list, they were able to communicate more directly with their true fans. So the takeaway there is that social platforms are kind of known as quote unquote rented land, while your email list and your SMS list are your safety nets. So if you haven't started building that first party data yet, start now. Even something as simple as offering a discount or a free guide in exchange for an email address can make such a huge difference and help you build your list, even if you have 0 subscribers right now. And you can check out episode 305 as well to learn more about the top email marketing mistakes that jewelry brands make and how you can avoid them. The fourth lesson we learned is that experimentation yields results, but only when it's grounded in strategy. So 2024 was also the year that many of you stepped up, got creative, whether it was testing new platforms, trying out new collaborations, experimenting with new brand messaging or different promotions or whatever it may have been. And the brands that saw success here, they didn't just throw spaghetti at the wall or constantly were changing their approach and strategy. They experimented with intention. So the takeaway is that experimentation is definitely essential for growth, but it works best when you treat it kind of like a science experiment where you test, you analyze, and you iterate from there. Number 5. Community was so important in marketing this year. And I've heard from many of you that you leaned into community building really hard this year, and it really paid off. Whether that was hosting live virtual styling sessions or local events, those efforts created deeper connections and loyalty. Yes, community building takes time, but it's worth it. So start small. Maybe it's a monthly live Q&A or a VIP email segment or even a branded hashtag. Those things can help foster a sense of belonging among your customers, especially if you reward them somehow and show genuine interest in them as people. Number 6, embracing imperfection. I think I kind of mentioned this, but having those overly produced, highly polished campaigns and content, those things took a back seat to the more raw, real, behind-the-scenes content in 2024. Like a quick video of a jewelry designer sketching a custom design, even just a few seconds of that, or working on a piece on the workbench, those outperformed more highly polished content, especially on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Audiences crave realness over perfection. So a little imperfection can create a stronger emotional connection and really humanize your brand. And the last takeaway, the one that kind of surprised me the most, is the unexpected rise of what I'm calling nostalgia marketing. And you can go back to episode 309 for more about this. But nostalgia, while it's a well-known tactic, its effectiveness in jewelry marketing in 2024 definitely took me by surprise. Whether it's through vintage-inspired designs, old-school marketing aesthetics, or storytelling that evoked a sense of the good old days, customers were drawn to jewelry brands that are kind of using nostalgia as a way to feel more timeless, more personal. So nostalgia, when it's done right, it creates an emotional anchor. And jewelry brands that tapped into this sentiment saw customers connecting not just with their products, but with the stories and memories that those pieces represented. So what do you think? Have you used any of these tactics in 2024? I'd love to hear about how they worked for you. Share your thoughts in a comment on YouTube or shoot me a DM on Instagram. All right, sparklers, it's time for the Gold Mine, a segment of the podcast where I share personal stories from my entrepreneurial journey and connect them to impactful marketing lessons. And this week in the Gold Mine, I want to share my absolute favorite marketing strategy of the year, the one that not only blew me away with the results that I've seen from implementing it, but the impact of it also felt the most fulfilling when it was done right. So for me, it was all about helping brands become storytellers rather than just having a story. I've said this a few times already in this episode, but again, so important, resonated so much with me, and really, I saw the impact firsthand. It puts the human element back into marketing, especially this year, in this year when AI has become a very real part of the stories we tell. Take even a big brand like Coca-Cola, for example. They recently made headlines and even faced some backlash for creating a fully AI-generated Christmas commercial. That was a pretty bold move, and it highlighted a key truth. No matter how advanced AI gets, and even if a corporation like Coca-Cola, if they think they can kind of use it effectively, what the backlash tells us is that it can't replicate the warmth and authenticity of a story that's told by a real person, especially a person that is known, liked, and trusted by their audience. This year with AI now, content starts to sometimes feel a little overly polished or disconnected, or even raising the doubt of the person who's consuming the content. Like, is this even real? And so the jewelry brands that thrived were the ones that got personal. They share the small moments that build real human connections, the vulnerable moments, the challenges, even the struggles they have, the celebrations they have, the interactions they have with their customers, the things that make you feel like a real person. And why does this matter so much to me? Why am I talking so much about this? Because working in the jewelry industry, I see and know how jewelry is so inherently personal as an object. It's not just about metal and gemstones. Again, it's about the memories, the emotions, and the stories tied to those pieces. And as a marketer and as an educator of marketing, explaining how to capture that emotion, tell the story, and making sure it's seen and heard, as well as the customers being seen and heard, that's kind of like magic when it comes together in the right way. So to share a specific example that stood out to me, we have one client who started doing some personal styling tip videos on Facebook Live because they already had really good engagement on Facebook. I know that's surprising, but for some brands, they do have good engagement there. So this client would showcase really cute outfits and then demonstrate how to accessorize them with the jewelry, tailoring the looks for various seasons and occasions. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't always perfectly lit, edited, whatever. It's not a professional production, but it always felt really relatable and authentic in a way that just simply cannot be replicated by AI. And with this approach, with the live videos, customers were responding really positively. They were messaging, they were commenting. They were even sharing their own outfit ideas featuring the pieces from the brand. So these videos didn't just sell jewelry, but they built a community around shared style and creativity. And really, that's the ultimate goal of marketing, making people feel something. It reminds me that no matter how advanced technology gets or how much the digital landscape evolves, storytelling is going to be the one thing that stays the same and remains timeless and will keep you relevant. So my challenge for you as we move into 2025 is how can you make your storytelling even more authentic, more personal, more human? Remember, sparklers, you're not just selling jewelry, you're creating memories, emotions, and connections. And that's the kind of magic that no algorithm or AI can replicate. And on that note, that also will tie into the episode for next week, the very last episode of the year, which will be 3 predictions for jewelry marketing in 2025. So you won't want to miss that one. And that's it for today. If you want to reach out, you can always email me Larissa, that's LARYSSA at joyjoya.com. And if you love this podcast, please share it with a friend who'd appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe as well as leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're completely new to digital marketing, then you'll want to purchase and read a copy of my book, Jewelry Marketing Joy. Visit joyjoya.com/book for more information.